All right, guys. So, Asmongold, one of the top slop tubers who has become very political in recent times, he, on his live stream, apparently, casually said that he supports the U.S. military killing innocent people in other countries in order to steal their resources. This is what he said. By the way, this is the guy who, it wasn't that long ago, wasn't he pretending to have turned on Trump over the Epstein files? I believe I may have covered that. That he was like, oh no, I've always been critical of him. I don't know what you're talking about. His own chat was coming after him, and he's like, oh, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I've always been critical of him. You're not paying attention. I've always, I've been against this for a long time. I didn't even vote for him. He did this whole thing about how, oh, of course, no, of course. All it took to win him back was for Trump to launch an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us and wasn't going to attack us, and kidnap the sovereign independent leader and drag them to our country to try them. Now, I wonder what his reaction would be if China kidnapped Trump and tried to try him. Would he support that? Well, he supports it in principle, apparently. So would he support that? My guess is he'd be singing a different tune, of course. But here we go. Here's what he said. Let's watch.
Cuba's days are numbered. Colombia isn't going to be doing this anymore. Okay, yeah, I could see there's definitely a trend here. You specifically said you'd be against foreign intervention and nation building. Why have you switched positions? Well, I'm generally against it, but there are some instances where I'd be okay with it.
I'm generally against it, but the most naked, brazen, disgusting, corrupt, immoral, illegal, worst way of doing it, I love that because it makes me feel like a tough guy. And it makes me feel like Trump is like superhuman. So I'm against it unless he does it in the most brazen way possible, then I love it. How does anybody watch this? How does anybody watch this, bro? I actually don't understand. I genuinely don't get it.
Like, I think it's something that's generally a bad idea, but if we can get enough money out of the place that we're intervening in, and we can effectively make it worthwhile for us, then I'd be okay with it.
So I'm generally against it, but if we're willing to do very open thievery, if we're willing to do robbery and theft and jack their natural resources for our corporations, well, in that case, I'm in favor of it. Asmongold, that's an argument to overthrow like literally every country on Earth. Everybody's got something of value, some places more than other, of course. But you just laid the groundwork and the argument for, no, yeah, I would do this to anybody, anywhere, as long as I feel like our corporations are getting off scot-free and stealing a lot of shit. I mean, this is Fourth Reich shit. Let's call it what it is. And it's even like, it's like pirate type shit too. This is like flat out piracy that he's arguing for. But since it's, a reality star wearing a suit, he feels like somehow there's some legitimacy that's granted to it. It's preposterous.
Then I'd be okay with it. Does that make sense? So it's all about whether we're making money off of it. That's my primary function, is that I think about, is this good for Americans?
Who's we? Who's we? You said as long as we're making money off it. Who's we? You're not ExxonMobil. You're not Chevron. You're not BP. You're not Citgo. This only helps the Epstein class. This only helps the billionaires. This only helps the corporations, the oil corporations. By the way, they promised Trump, Trump said to them, give me $1 billion for my campaign. He said this to oil companies, give me $1 billion, then I'll deliver for you guys. Give me $1 billion, I'll deliver for you guys. The most openly corrupt, this was reported on at the time, openly corrupt deal. And would you look at that? Now he's president, and he's openly saying, we're going to take the oil, we're going to overthrow Venezuela, we're going to take the oil. They granted an ultra-Zionist MAGA billionaire, Paul Singer, was given the rights to Citgo, the U.S. branch of the Venezuelan state oil company. Now that guy has it, and he's going to be the one to go in there and fucking fix up all the infrastructure and make a tremendous amount of money off of it. This is so crazy, the shit that he's saying. Oh my God.
I think about, is this good for Americans? And if it is, if it's making us money, it's beneficial for us, it's lowering our costs, or there's some other downstream effect of it, then yeah, I'd be okay with it.
He hasn't thought this through in the slightest. This wouldn't help you or I at all, not even a little bit. It's about corporate profits. It's about the Epstein class, the billionaires. The idea that, oh yeah, we're really looking out for a grandma who lives in Cleveland. Like, get the fuck out of here. He doesn't even fucking believe that. He's just using this to justify and rationalize the most disgusting foreign policy actions that we've seen in modern history.
But us just going over there and doing it for no reason? No, I don't think so.
There's always a reason. Nobody's like, hey, for shits and giggles, I'm going to go to New Zealand and fucking do regime change. Nobody does that. Nobody's ever done that. There's always a reason. Read about the history of the banana wars. That was a reason. We wanted to fucking overthrow a government so that the Chiquita Banana Company can fucking jack all the bananas. That sounds incredibly dirty, but you get the point. Like, nobody's ever done it for no reason. Bush had his reason. By the way, that would also happen to be oil. That would be control of a vital region in the world geopolitically. Like, there were reasons, but what about fucking law? What about law? What about principles? What about morality? What about ethics? What about equality? What about justice? Again, to want to live in a world where might makes right, and it's the law of the jungle, is so fucking short-sighted, because throughout history, empires rise and fall. There will be a time where we're not the most powerful country anymore. It's going to happen at some point, probably sooner rather than later, because Trump's ushering in that time very fast. I don't want to be on the receiving end of fucking China randomly overthrowing our government because they don't like that we're not giving them enough of our fucking natural gas that we get from fracking. Like, put the shoe on the other foot for fucking once in your life. To all the MAGA people out there, I actually think they're incapable of doing that. I think their brain like short circuits when they try to apply the golden rule and try to put the shoe on the other foot and try to, let me see it if I was in their shoes. They're like, I don't understand. That doesn't make sense. How could I be in their shoes? That makes no sense. Like, I don't think they get it. I don't think he has the mental capability to do that basic intellectual exercise. Because if he did, he'd be fucking horrified at his own words here.
That's my viewpoint on it. That's what I think. No more pointless wars, period. Economical, logical interventions are fine. Yeah, exactly. And even though it costs civilian lives, yeah, who gives a shit? Like, I mean, if the thing is that if you're going to do this stuff, people are going to get killed. That's what's going to happen. It's going to happen for sure.
What if that was your family? What if that was your best friend? What if that was you? What if that was your entire block? What about that? What about that? My guess is then you would, of course, be fucking outraged. If it was your family members or your friends, you would be outraged. You would feel like, has everybody lost their goddamn mind? Are we just in favor of, anarchy? Are we in favor of chaos and savagery and barbarism? Like, is that what we've come to? But when it comes to others, like, who cares? They're like poor brown people in Venezuela. Who gives a shit? Why would anybody care about them? They speak a different language. I don't like them. I don't know them. So, like, why do they count? I don't understand what... Guys, you have to understand something. This, to me, has been a very eye-opening moment. Because I remember having the arguments during the campaign with people where you had a lot of MAGA people who sincerely were arguing, like, no, we think Trump is more anti-war than Kamala. We think Trump and Vance are the peace ticket. You remember these arguments, and I was screaming from the top of my lungs, you're just wrong. Like, objectively speaking, factually speaking, opinions aside, this is just black and white, straightforward, like, not even close. He is a bigger warmonger, period. And, like, I remember having these arguments, and it's like you're talking to a brick wall when you have these arguments. Like, they refuse to accept that reality. And it didn't matter how many specific examples I brought up of Trump being a warmonger, water off a duck's ass. They wouldn't care. But see, now, the realization I'm having, watching Asmongold is, no, they never cared. Like, they never actually felt like I'm really anti-war and I actually want to support the more anti-war candidate. It was just branding. It was just marketing. They were all part of the fascist, terrorist, Kool-Aid drinking death cult. And so they'll use whatever argument is convenient in the moment, but they never meant a fucking word of it. Because I would sit there and say, I would say, okay, you say Trump's more anti-war. Why did he increase drone strikes in his first term 432%? Why did he keep us in Iraq and Afghanistan? By the way, Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Why was there a 330% increase in civilian deaths in Afghanistan when he was president? Why did he bomb Syria twice? Why did he bomb Somalia? Why did he occupy a third of Syria to, quote, take the oil? That's his words, not mine. Why did he increase the Pentagon budget every year, even though they failed 8 audits in a row and can't account for 63% of their money? Does that sound anti-war to you? Giving record military budgets to the Pentagon as they fucking basically steal 63% of that money? And you would get no real reaction from these people. Again, they just would... you could play them the clip of Trump on Fox News in 2015 or 2016 where he says, we should take out the families of terrorists. Don't just kill the terrorists. Take out their families. Their families. Talking about killing innocent women and children. Does that sound anti-war to you? They got nothing to say. And they still plow ahead and support him. The guy who signed a pro-torture executive order and pardoned Blackwater war criminals in his first term. The guy that hired John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel, all insane neocon warmongers. The guy whose first military raid as president killed a young American girl. You heard me correctly. In Trump's first term, his very first military raid as president killed a young American girl. You bring up all of these things to these people. If he's anti-war, why did he rip up the Iran agreement? Why did he try to coup Venezuela in the first term? Why did he veto a bill that cut off arms to Saudi Arabia? as they were doing a genocide in Yemen, right? You point out they don't care. And again, the reason they don't care is they never fucking meant it. They never meant it. Asmongold, there was that, we showed you the clip the other day of him saying, I think it was about Ukraine. He's like, well, why would we be sending money to do this? Why would we be doing things overseas? That doesn't make any sense. You're never going to be able to convince somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck that it makes sense to send all that money to Ukraine and to be involved overseas with all this bullshit. This is his words. I'm paraphrasing, but it's his words, not mine. And then now, it's like, yeah, who gives a fuck? Send $40 billion to Argentina. I don't give a shit. Send fucking endless money to Israel. I don't give a shit. Fucking let's run Gaza. Let's run Venezuela after an illegal regime change there. It doesn't matter to them that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fucking matter. They don't care. They never meant it. It was just a convenient thing to say at the time. And when they would get debunked, even at the time, they would just plow ahead like they weren't debunked. And so that's who these people are. So you can't, that's the thing. You can't even have a conversation with them. I mean, I know it sounds nihilistic in a sense, but I am doomerist and nihilist when it comes to MAGA, when it comes to the far right. But you're not having a conversation with a real person with real thoughts, with real beliefs, who've thought through any issue. It's not the case. And again, it's their words that prove it, not mine. They contradict themselves all the time. They're fucking hypocrites. They fucking change their stance in an instant as soon as Trump says, I'm going this way now. They go, yes, sir, I'll go that way too. And so here we are. Now, murdering innocent civilians is perfectly acceptable as long as our corporations can steal their shit. I mean, that sounded better than the original German Asmongold. Ich den von Schlagen, Fagen, Nuden, Heil Hitler. I mean, that's where we're at now, right? That's where we're at. This is the American version of that. This is the Fourth Reich. And this slop tuber gets way more views than I do. This slop tuber has a way more, a bigger, more dedicated audience than I do. And what does that say about the direction of our country? What does that say? We're just going to fucking low IQ slop ourselves into fucking World War III and annihilation? Because that's the trajectory it's heading. And the entire way, he'll be watching idiotic Trump decisions, evil Trump decisions going, based every single time.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.